Hey YouTube, so this video will be about actually how to wash your dreadlocks. It's originally, I guess, a reply to Nightmare R High Want to Win, who asked, how do you wash your dreads? And I already have one video about washing and why you should and how it helps, but I didn't explain how I actually do it. What I found the best way to do it, I usually use liquid soap. I haven't tried bar yet, but I don't feel like rubbing a bar of soap in between, like on my scalp everywhere, and then rubbing it on my dreads. I don't really like rubbing things against the dreads. It just kind of seems like it pulls hairs out. But usually what I do is, and I've tried most ways. Like I squirt a little bit in your hand, and then you rub it over here on your roots, and you squirt a little more, and you rub it over here, rub it on your top and the back, and then you get on your hands and just rub it all over, and then just rub it all in. But the way that I do now seems to work better, and what I do is I get like a water bottle like this. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but I fill it up maybe about to here or so. You can do whatever you want. I mean, I try and spare as much of the shampoo as I can because it's kind of expensive. It can be. But I do it about to here, and then I fill the rest up with water, and I stab like a hole in the top, like with like scissors or whatever. And then when I'm in the shower, the first thing I'll do, or if I'm just washing, is I'll flip all my dreads over one side, and I'll squirt it all over all my roots, and then I flip back over and I put my fingers in between them and I rub them all like that, almost like you're clockwise rubbing, but not. I mean, I guess you are, but all of them. And then I'll do the other side. I'll flip them all over this way. I'll flip them all over, and then I'll squirt it a little bit right here. Not like squeezing a whole lot, but I mean, you'll feel not enough to where it just drips all on your face, especially if you're using anything with oils that's going to burn your eyes, so especially peppermint oil. But I just squeeze enough to where I can feel it cover these roots right here about this much, and you'll feel it start to run on your head, but don't squeeze the crap out of it and just cover your whole head. Anyway, until the end anyway. And then I'll flip back over and I'll rub those roots, and whenever I'm flipping back over, it's allowing the shampoo also to run down into the dreads as well. And then I'll flip them all back, and I'll do the top right here, and then rub it in the roots, and you'll feel it lathering up. Even if you dilute it that much, generally it'll still lather up real well. The soap I'm trying right now isn't lathering up too much, but you can still feel it working. And then I flip my head forward and pull my dreads on top of my head, and I squirt in my roots and do that. And then I'll kind of I'm learning more and more how to not use so much. I'm trying to preserve as much as I can. But anyway, and then you take what's left and I kind of squirt it around on the sides. I guess if you have long dreads, you can kind of hold them and look, and then squirt it into them, and then squeeze it in like a sponge. You want to squeeze it in like a sponge. But anyway, I go all over my head, kind of like just like that. Like it's not like it has to be super organized or whatever. And then I just take them after I squirt it in. I set this thing down and squeeze it all in. Squeeze it in. Grab handfuls of your dreads and squeeze it into the actual dreads after I've done my roots or whatever, and then I'll take what's left. If I have like only a little bit, if for some reason I've only used half, then I'll probably stop there and not use the rest of the bottle and use the rest next time. But usually I have just a little bit left, and I'll squirt it all over, just use it up and squirt it all over, and then just squeeze it in all over the rest of my head, and then maybe rub the roots again, like flip, and then rub my roots, and then grab the front and do those, and then this other side. Anyway, that's how I wash my dreads. But I know a lot of people like to use like a dread soap bar, but I don't, just because the way people have said to do it, it kind of seems like the way that I do it would be way quicker and easier, and I know for sure I'm covering every inch of my head, whereas with a bar, if you're rubbing on your scalp or whatever, I don't mean to down talk the bar. If you like doing that, it's cool. Maybe if you know something I don't, then tell me, but I don't want to just rub it on my dreads or whatever. And I like just squeezing it because you're not rubbing against the actual dread itself, taking a chance of just rubbing it and pulling hair out of it, especially while it's wet. You're just barely squeezing it, which is better to do than to just irritate the crap out of your hair. So that's what I do. Make sure whatever soap you're using, Dreadhead or Naughty Boy or the baking soda wash or the ACV rinse, apple cider vinegar, well, that's more so of a rinse, but whatever soap you're using, make sure it is residue free. Don't use normal shampoo because it will leave residue in your dreads if it smells, or if it's something that's not a saponified, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but a saponified oil. Any other types of oil will build up, or any type of fragrance that's in any type of normal shampoo will build up in your hair, and what that does is it causes your hair to feel like it's dry, but then the insides, that residue will hold that water, and it'll cause mildew or mold to get in your hair, which you can get out if you have a little bit of it, but more than likely you won't know it until you can smell it big time. And then once you're at that point where you can just smell a bunch of mold in your hair, or other people smell it, then it might be too late and you might have to cut your hair, because there's only so much you can do to get mold and mildew out. But so that's what I do. So if you guys have any more questions, hopefully I covered everything about washing your hair. Oh, what I do when I get out too, I dry it the same way. So I'll flip my hair over and then put it, I don't just rub a towel on my head, because that pulls hairs out and makes it super fuzzy. So I just push the I'll flip all my hair over, push it up against my head, then flip it on the other side. That way back, push it against my dreads, and then flip it forward. And then I use a hair dryer with a diffuser on it, which is that thing that looks like it has a, almost like it, say this is like the, whatchamacallit, the the end of the blow dryer, and then it has that claw looking thing that you can put on the end, and it just helps it where it's not blowing tons of air, but it's spreading out where the air goes, so it's not making a bunch of fuzzies. Or the thing that, like, it almost makes the air come out in like a tube like this, and it's an attachment for the front of a blow dryer as well, and I kind of just put that up under there. My friend had that, so I tried that one time. It worked really well. That, and then once I blow dried them to where they're mostly dry, that's when you can really shape them, and that's how they're going to stay. So I'll push them down or whatever and flip this, because this one always likes to stay over here, so I flip it over and it'll kind of trains it, and then I just palm roll them until I can feel that they're dry. And what palm rolling them while they're damp does is it makes them swell up, like expand out, and then once they dry, they stay that way. It keeps them thick. So if you were just to palm roll and pull too much, it'll stretch them to where they're skinnier. They won't stay that way, but I mean, it just palm rolling them helps them to, while they're damp, it'll poof them out, and then they'll dry like that, and it makes the hair get used to being like that and mature it. So anyway, yeah, that's all I can say. Maybe I'll be able to give more pointers once my hair's longer, my dreads are longer. So hope that helps.